Please join me. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. We'll start off the meeting with any public comments. Natasha?
Natasha Stowe. I wasn't planning to come in today. For a long time, as Amber knows, been focused on safety for pedestrians, cyclists, and also for cars. And the reason I'm here is because I've been a little bit alarmed at the pace of street repairs and the removal of foliage that's really a dangerous hazard, not just for pedestrians, joggers, and cyclists, but also for cars. So let me just give you one example, which is when you go down Cobbetts and you get to the dead end at Ram Island Road, you just can't see around either side, whether you're making a right or a left. Which is really dangerous, not only for cars, but also for pedestrians, cyclists, and so on. So the reason I came in today to talk about this is because I read in the Reporter, I got one of those bulletins today, that the Highway Department has been focused on doing things at the Shelter Island Country Club. And those things include a kitchen renovation. And I'm just kind of scratching my head because I haven't seen any crews out repairing the road. And I did reach out to Ken Lewis about maybe 10 days ago. And he said that it had been too early to get the asphalt out, but he thought that it would be out this week. Actually, that was last week. I think he was saying they would be coming out last week, this week. I'm just not seeing the crews out there. And my question is, as a taxpayer, I guess I'm a little confused about why the resources are being applied to Goat Hill and maybe not to safety and to road repair. The specific thing that I had asked Superintendent Lewis about was repairing the second causeway at Ram Island, just because I happen to be jogging there, and I noticed that no repairs have been made since last summer to certain areas that actually have little divots that are verticals, that if your bike tire got stuck in one, you go over. And there were also serious shrubbery hazards where the shrubs hadn't been cut back. So I guess I just want to raise the question, as a taxpayer and as someone who really feels that streets, need to be safer for all of us. I'm just not sure about the allocation of resources. I did go on the Highway Department site. I wanted to see, is there a schedule that says, Silver Beach will be done this week, and then, the center will be done that week, and then maybe Ram Island might get done in June or something, and I just think it should be more transparent how the streets are going to get fixed. You got all those kids riding bikes this summer. I just would really feel better knowing that the street repairs were getting done. That's all.
I see, Ken, you've turned your video on. So if you want to go ahead.
Sure. Which one would you like me to address first? I can talk about so from what we, as I did indicate to you, Natasha, in the email, I actually did have a crew out on Ram Island repairing potholes just at the end of last week. We also trimmed back the road side brush that you had mentioned on the entryway going up the hill to the Ram's Head Inn. We have been working out in Silver Beach doing our roadside brush cutting. It's a slow process to do such things. Obviously, as things come up, if there is something specifically out in the road that either my crew or a foreman or myself see, we bring it to the attention of the crew right away and we address it. We do try to work regionally in these areas. So like I said to you, we were working in Silver Beach, and when we're working in a region, that's an extensive amount of cutting that takes place. It is a slow process because we have an aerial lift that travels down the road and trims everything overhead, in addition to what we're doing in groundwork on the sides. As far as the asphalt goes, we are scheduled again. you know, a lot of these things are weather dependent. I don't know if you noticed, but we got about 4 inches of rain in the last 25 hours. That makes replacing, repairing holes in the road that are filled with water. So, we're a little beholden to the weather at times, but it is scheduled. I just got another 10 yards of cold patch that we went and picked up just last Friday. That's ready to be applied when we get going onto continued pothole repair, etc. And I do have scheduled. I was actually scheduled for this week to do a hot asphalt run to Corazini to pick up use our hot asphalt machine to do some needed heavier repairs of some berms and some other areas that got damaged in the snow. But we also the weather is, again, not going to cooperate. We're supposed to get more rain even tonight. I'm hoping that by tomorrow, things are going to start to dry out. And then Thursday, I still hope to bring the hot asphalt machine over here to address some of those concerns. So it's a constant process. My crews are out on the road, but again, things get pulled in different directions. And so today, like we had a tree down today, so that took a series of guys that were, working on something else and had to be pulled to go help out with traffic and get that taken care of. As far as Goat Hill goes, as the town board knows, Goat Hill is a town park. The town of Shelter Island owns Goat Hill. And so while, yes, my crew has been working at Goat Hill, doing some work on the park area with some overgrown areas as well. The work that was done in the kitchen was part of a contracting effort that I was overseeing, and we had some of my maintenance crew, which is part of my sort of building and grounds maintenance, was involved in some of the work there as far as demolition and removal. But most of the work that was done in the kitchen area at Goat Hill was handled by outside contracting, very specific to the needs of the kitchen. So we've just gotten the mowers back in to the shop. Before you know it, you will see guys out on the mowers on the roadsides, which also then lends itself to trimming back some of those roadsides. So I assure you they're out there, and they will continue to be a presence as we move into the spring and summer months.
Thank you.
Also, Natasha, and I guess anybody else, yes, Goat Hill Shelter Island Country Club is a town asset, and it is leased to the golf entity. And under that lease, the town is responsible for certain capital improvements. Why is the question you might want to ask? Why is the town fixing, making capital improvements to Goat Hill? But that is the state of the lease. That's what it says, and the town is obligated to do it, whether or not we're happy about it.
Can I just follow up with one question? How is the prioritization set? So does the superintendent have complete responsibility or the final decision on whether a crew is working at Goat Hill versus repairing a road in the center?
Yes,
Okay.
that's his
Thank
job.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
Since there's no one else in the physical audience, is there anyone on Zoom who has a question? Okay, there being none, we will move on to the asset management policy update. So we heard back from the contract accountants, and they put in the language for the leased and subscription-based information technology arrangements, and they set the threshold at $10,000. So that was the major change in what we had reviewed last meeting. So if we don't have any other changes, we'll go ahead and adopt this.
I have a couple of, this could be an accounting issue, and I'm not an accountant, but
We have one of those on board.
yeah, Amber, answer this question for me. Well, it talks about land and buildings being added as capital assets based on their purchase price, but does that include transaction costs?
Yes.
So recording fees,
Yes,
lawyers?
Generally accepted accounting principles say that you include those as part of your basis and part of your cost.
Okay. Okay, so the other two comments that follow on those lines. Down in the property manager section, it says supervisor shall designate the property control manager. Is that normal practice, or should that be a town board action?
I think it's historically been the supervisor because our size town, we don't have 3 branches of government, but the supervisor's office is basically the executive branch of government. And so that's part of the executive branch forces of the town.
Maybe-
Yeah, that person is Judy.
Is she's the property
Yes.
control manager?
Yeah, she is the one who.
I'll say answer.
I'm sorry, who was that?
Judy, manager. Yeah, so
So
every
it
time.
makes more sense now.
Yes, because all of the, purchase orders and everything, all things flow through money-wise, the supervisor's office, so she gets, notified of any of that.
If there's ever a need or desire to move it sort of off island, like get an outside organization to do this, so, okay, it's a minor thought, I just want to talk about it.
Mhm.
I don't think I have a major problem with you being the person designated property control officer.
Yeah, I mean, it can always be changed now or at a later date if it's necessary. This is something that we should be adopting annually, so
Okay.
it can be looked at.
Each department shall have an asset custodian, I guess we have that in each department?
It's the department head essentially.
Department.
Is that what that means? Okay, that's what I wanted to find out.
Later in that paragraph, at the end of that paragraph, capital asset maintenance form, I didn't see the definition of that. but
Oh.
I might have missed
Isn't
it.
it the last form in the document?
Yes. It's this.
Oh,
It's-
that,
Yeah.
I stopped at the end of the text.
Oh, there's a little formatting that just needs to be fixed.
Okay.
That was my, one thing that I wanted to fix.
In the documentation section, that second sentence, it doesn't seem to make sense, full sense. It says, the property control manager shall maintain a file folder for each property, sure. To file a copy of the deed, sure. The resolution of the board of trustees authorizing the acquisition of parcel.
Should be
Okay,
town
that
board.
that's fine, that makes sense.
Oh, yeah, I thought that got fixed. It's the town board.
Yeah, that's the other thing.
Yeah.
The transfer of, no, that was the one. Okay, that's fine. And on the last page, accountability. We have the property control manager's office? Well, it's a defined term, so it should be capitalized.
Hmm.
And you don't need the office part, it's just the property control
Yes.
manager.
Yes.
And I assume it's over there. Yeah, I guess that happens, I'm sure. Can't read my own handwriting. It's just, I should fully, oh. The last clause, can you just talk, let's talk about that. So if there's a discrepancy or a problem, somebody's stealing tractors or whatever. It should be investigated. Do we need to talk about repercussions?
I think that would be, if there was an investigation, we found wrongdoing on the part of an employee, then that would be a disciplinary action by the department head of that employee.
So should we say that here, or is it, it may not be necessary?
Well, I think it's in the The employee handbook. I mean, if there's a violation of that nature, either that or it would become a criminal case, so you handle in that matter, depending on what it is.
Or should we say something generic?
I see Steve wants to chime in.
Yes.
Right, I agree that disciplinary procedures are found elsewhere. I don't think you have to restate them here.
Great. That's all I had.
The only question I have is this, the capital asset maintenance form. This whole document is someplace, is it digital or is it paper? What are we talking about here?
It's digital, but I mean, if someone requests something,
So if you wanted to take a look at all of these things and the dollar amounts that are put in here, that goes to the accountant for
oh, yeah,
Asset management.
yeah, they request that schedule every year.
every year. Okay, I've never seen this before, that's why I'm asking. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, there may not exist because this form hasn't always existed, so there may not exist for every single asset, this particular capital asset maintenance form. But Judy has a spreadsheet that tracks everything.
In the, okay, I see it. Okay, you got it.
No, I need that. I need that. I need the electronic.
Oh.
No problem. Oh, that's another way. Okay.
This is done every year.
Yes, it should be adopted, every year, just like we adopt the purchasing receipt.
This is done at the beginning of the year or how?
We're gonna make sure it gets added.
Because I don't remember ever seeing this.
No, and that's, came to our attention that this wasn't adopted, so, let's take a look at it. Judy was the one who said this got overlooked, so Amber will make sure it's added to the list of things that we do at the organization meeting.
Organizational, okay.
I mean, it can always be put on pause if someone sees something and wants to make an amendment.
And it's broken down by departments, I'm assuming, like the highway departments, that they have a lot of assets, trucks and all the other stuff. There's a whole group that's for that particular department, all of it.
That would be a Judy question,
Okay,
because I don't maintain it, so I haven't
Okay.
actually looked at. I just know that it is maintained and that the auditors get a copy every year.
So this will go out to the department heads
It'll be
as a review,
recirculated.
just to reiterate the need.
Yes, exactly. Yes, it will be recirculated, just like the purchasing policy was, once we adopted that one. All right, so Amber, you've got that. 19. Next item on the agenda was, yes,
I'm going to
you asked me to
recuse
say you have
myself.
to leave.
After you're done.
Okay. So at the last WQI meeting, Rafael Perez, 3 Lake Drive, was put in for a voluntary IA system, and it's going to be the base grant of $12,000 plus $4,000 set aside for well replacement. I think on this one, it doesn't seem as if they'll need the well replacement, but every once in a while, when the actual siting takes place, they do realize, and so rather than have to come back to the town board to increase it for the 4,000, they've just been proactively putting it in just in case. But then if they don't do a well replacement, those funds get unencumbered. So, I don't know if there's any questions on this.
I didn't have it.
Mhm.
the only question, Amber, that I have on this, the whole WQIP program, okay, is that when we had a discussion about the information not being on GIS and stuff like that, we really should talk about that, what, we have it, but it's in paper format, and if
There's a whole, yeah.
we really need to have that, since we're concerned about water quality and we're paying for these, we should, the water testing and everything else we should have, and I don't know who's looking at that, and,
Yeah, no, we need to find, we need to do some digging to get the whole GIS, because I was looking at something today and I saw it and it's like that property transferred hands. It's not updated yet in GIS. So we need to get on the company that is providing that for us because things are falling through the cracks. And it would be nice to get the septic placed on the GIS. So.
I was really,
How's that?
The GIS, I don't know, it's Access GIS is the name of the company, but I don't know who our contact person is.
So how does that work? We send them the information? Or,
I actually don't know all the details. I think we used to send it, there used to be a person, but it was before, like, it used to be Main Street Maps, and then they were acquired by Access GIS. And so with those changes, I don't know the particulars anymore, like who, if there's a designated person anymore under the new company. So,
is the building department not to heap on them, but are they,
I'm not sure if it's the building department or the assessor's office. I haven't wanted to bother Judith until she gets past.
oh, yeah.
The 20th.
No, I understand that. I
But
just,
yeah, once they're.
but it
done
is
with
like
that.
Gordon pointed out, this is
I think,
good
I think it
information to
also,
have.
it also really plays into the WAC committee as well, because I think some of this information, since they're doing water quality, they're doing testing and, you know, the USGS thing, wouldn't it be nice to know what's coming out of these systems that are in the ground and the whole thing with, well, they report to Suffolk County. There's no reporting those 3 years, as I understand it. Okay, it's the vendor who does the testing to make sure it's up to snuff. But then there's a report that goes to Suffolk County, okay, because they're insisting on it, but we don't get that information. I just think I think it's something with the committee that we should really look, who's on WQIP?
The two of us.
Oh, okay.
But when you say gets reported to Suffolk County, the maintenance of the system.
Well, they want to see how well it's working.
Okay.
Okay, and the thing is, I think from an informational point of view, it would be good for us to have it, and also when we do water testing, okay, that test be included to the WAC, so this way they're always looking for testing. But we paid for testing, we're paying for these IA systems, so all the data, I think is important to have, let that committee have. It gives them, what they're looking for is, hey, what's going on? Well, here we have a built-in situation where they can find out firsthand what's going on.
I like the idea of getting water tests to the WAC.
Yeah.
On the septic test, I mean, that information goes to the county, so rather than us tracking it and setting up our own database to track it, maybe we can work with the county to get periodic reports about, like, a summary of all the reports.
Yeah,
Since they're
exactly.
doing the data gathering.
The health department, right.
Yeah, the health, yeah. Okay.
I'm- And you know, the other thing that would be very interesting also from an informational and a data point of view is knowing the systems that are put in here on the island. Like, we have different manufacturers. It would just for informational sake, it would be interesting to see what seemed to be the popular, or just from an informational point of view, to have a list of what
The
they,
department should have that.
yeah. But we don't have it, they don't, like, I think, what do we have, 64 units that are in? That we,
No, you mean,
no, there are more than 64, but I think through the program.
through the program? Hold on a second. I can pull that up. Oh, very good. Gordon's 64. I think it might be 65 now. I
Right.
think there's one more that I need to add to the spreadsheet. Very good. Reps.
Yeah,
Not sure.
I did some homework, okay? Okay, but other than that, I am fine with it.
Yeah, we've given out grants. We've encumbered 130 grants in total. 64 have actually gone in. And 7 were pulled back. So 64 installed, 7 got released because they either sold the property or withdrew from the program.
Happened. How many withdrew from the program?
7.
So,
Yeah, so some of them were sales.
I think we have over, what is it, 125 or something like that?
Yeah.
So the new homes are outpacing this, okay?
All right, so then we will adopt
Yes,
this one on the 18th. 19th. Make sure you come back.
okay.
come on in, man.
Capital Planning and Grants Committee. Pages, hold on a second. So the resolution that is before you, when we were originally looking for, resolutions, we saw this and thought this was establishing the policies and procedures of the committee. But then when Steve looked at it, he said that this did in fact set up, in the 2019 resolution did in fact set up the committee. But there were things in here that, to my mind, I gave the intent that it was not a public-facing meeting, a public-facing committee. And I still have just a couple of questions to just bounce off of Steve to make sure that we just publicly vet it. In setting up, the members are 2 appointed council people, which right now they're just designated as liaisons, but not voting members of the committee. So this we'll have to actually appoint, we'll have to take them off of the liaison list and appoint them as members once we get this resolution passed. And then with respect to terms, since we've put these in as positions, so the members, town engineer, the town highway superintendent and public works commissioner, the police chief / emergency management coordinator, and then the 2 town people, town board members. I guess the town board members we could do annually, but Steve, do we have to do anything with appointing the other members, or because they're appointed by title, that's sufficient?
That is sufficient. They are members by virtue of holding the title. It's one of their responsibilities.
Okay. All right, so we don't have to worry about terms.
And you also don't have to worry about the term for the town board members because they can serve at the pleasure of the town board.
So right now we have myself and Gordon as liaisons. So we'll convert ourselves to members once we pass this. So we wouldn't bother to put a term in?
You could, but I don't think it's necessary.
Okay.
Is there a chair of this committee?
No,
I didn't see that.
that was the other thing. I mean, Jim Colligan used to be the chair. And then, we haven't really, I've sort of been acting as the chair last year and this year since Jim came off, but I just sort of took that on. So would we want to, it does say that we meet once a month or is deemed necessary by the chair. So should we put something in here to just town board appoint the chair, or does the committee internally appoint who's going to be the chair?
Well, I think the town board could reserve that privilege to itself. This is not a board that requires the same kind of independence, for example, that the Board of Ethics does. And also on the subject of the term of the town board member or members, you can make it a 1-year term. And then if that 1 year expires and the town board takes no action, they continue to serve as holdovers.
Mhm.
Or you can provide that they serve at the pleasure of the town board, either way.
Mhm.
Well, is it easier if you just have that they serve at at the pleasure of the town board? Because then if someone wants to voluntarily come off, you don't have to do a whole new resolution, or I guess you have to do a
You have to do
resolution
it
anyways.
anyways, yeah.
It's just-
Well, getting back to the chair, do we want them to self-appoint or the town board
It
appoints?
should be the town board. Okay, I think you should serve as the chair. Okay,
So we'll put in that we have to appoint the chair.
Yeah.
Okay.
Who is the accounting clerk?
Shelby.
Shelby, okay.
and Stephen, I think we discussed this earlier today, but this committee operates very similar to any other committee in terms of open meetings law, that if you're discussing contractual stuff, you have the right to really go into an executive session. Is that correct?
All municipal boards, every single one, are bound by the same rules found in
Okay.
the open meetings law. So yes, if they're discussing a matter that the open meetings law authorizes a board to discuss or a committee to discuss in executive session, they would adjourn to executive session. They convene in public and then adjourn to executive session. Once that discussion is finished, return to public session and either continue their public business or adjourn the meeting.
No, I just remember when I was on this committee that most of what we ended up doing was contracts. It was talking about the contracts related to the grant, or it was mostly legal stuff. So is this going to make it more complicated to hold the meetings? Or are you going to have more meetings because you're going to end up having to go into specific legal meetings with dishes if you're talking about a contract for them? Or is it going to complicate the process? Because it sounds like it's complicating the process. And it's really all internal members, like employees.
Go ahead, Steve, you were going to say something.
Yeah, I'm going to pull up the open meetings law while we speak. I don't think there is a general category of contracts in the open meetings law as a basis for executive session. Collective bargaining, yes. Let me just pull it up. Open meetings law. Text. Section 105, conduct of executive sessions. So here are the grounds for going into executive session. A through H, matters which will imperil the public safety if disclosed, any matter which may disclose the identity of a law enforcement agent or informer, information related to current or future investigation or prosecution of a criminal offense which would imperil effective law enforcement if disclosed, discussions regarding proposed, pending, or current litigation, collective negotiations pursuant to the civil service law, medical, financial, credit, or employment history of a particular person, matters that may lead to appointment, employment, promotion, demotion, et cetera, preparation, grading, or administration of examinations, and the proposed acquisition, sale, or lease of real property, or the proposed acquisition of securities or sale and exchange of securities. those are the topics. So if the contracts that you're referring to involve the acquisition or lease of real property, then yes, that can be discussed in executive session.
All right, so the grant contracts wouldn't fall under that then.
I just lost Zoom.
Are you there, Steve?
I am.
We're
It's
just-
me.
Yeah, just you, I'm still on, so. I mean, as far as I can tell.
Yep,
Okay,
it's good. Okay.
all right, yeah, then there may not be, there's no reason that we would need executive sessions unless there was something specifically that you thought of.
I'm thinking that you would go into an executive session if you had some legal issue with a vendor that we were dealing with or something to that nature. Say that, or there was a complaint filed or a fit, I don't know, I think there will be some unusual circumstances.
Yeah, attorney-client consultations, you can always do an executive session.
The capital planning and grants committee has no power. So anything that needs to be done has to be taken to the town board.
Right.
So,
But it was just like CPF has no executive, they only make recommendations, but we had gone into executive session to discuss acquisitions
yes.
and client negotiations.
Mhm.
You might be into the same thing with equipment. Okay, there may be, no, you don't think so?
No, because they're all still like, so if we got if we decided under capital planning that we're going to go for a piece of equipment, I don't think that's going to happen at the capital planning meeting. That's going to be the Commissioner of Public Works goes out and gets bids,
Right.
and then that comes to the town board.
Right.
So none of those
Yeah,
decisions don't get made
purchasing
in capital planning at all.
Right, and
So-
those decisions are made pursuant to the town's procurement policy.
Right.
Mhm. I mean, there could be something, I don't foresee it.
Okay.
All right, so we have to just put in that we're going to adopt or appoint annually the town board people, and that the town board will appoint the chair. So then we'll need two more resolutions or one more resolution to appoint Gordon and myself after this one is adopted.
So we're
As
appointing
well
the
as the chair.
supervisor as the chair?
Well, that would be the next question. I mean, I presume Gordon and I will stay on as the two members to be appointed, unless someone else is.
It's fine with me.
Yeah.
But I figured you'd make a good chair because you've been there for a while, so you understand the process.
Yeah. I mean, I'll
Put
take
that
it
out
on.
there.
I'll take that on.
Okay.
You want to fight me for it? Or we want to appoint you?
Sorry?
Unless you want to fight me for it.
No, no.
Or we
Listen,
we put it on someone else. We make Joe
Right.
or Jim or, yeah, we make Joe or Jim or Ken.
No, thanks.
You respectfully decline.
All right, okay,
Okay.
all right. Any other questions on this?
for me.
No. So now we have to make a website for this too, like a web page?
Yeah, we'll have to create a web page. We also will have to try and get the grants consultant to give us, I have to notify her to give us reports at least 24 hours in advance if practicable. So that's usually the only. Well, actually, here's one for you, Steve. Next month, we're going to have departments come with their requests. So like the seniors may come with, and I'm doing this based on prior years, they may come with a car, a senior vehicle to be, that they would like us to consider, but, putting into our capital budget. The police may be coming, well, this year I know with,
In the past, they've come with radios.
yeah,
things like that.
radios, high water rescue vehicle, things like that. So as we're discussing those types of things where we prioritize, is that public?
I don't see why it wouldn't be.
Okay, all right, just,
Right.
okay. We just have to put everybody on notice that they're making a pitch that's going to be,
Right, you're essentially setting town policy, and that is done in public.
Mhm.
Now, if there's some compelling reason that some unreasonable invasion of privacy may result if, for example, the seniors come with a request that's related to some particular person's disability, that's the sort of thing that you can discuss in executive session.
There's one last thing, okay, like our normal meetings, like today, the town board meeting, everybody has an opinion, so obviously if you have an open meeting, there will be people that have to open up the meeting with discussion, a comment from the public?
No, you can. That is always
need to do that.
discretionary with the board.
Okay,
The board needs to get its work done.
right,
So there is a time and a place for public discussion. And there comes a time when the board must do its work.
got it.
All the other 4 you said towns do not allow public
I know.
comment at work sessions. We're the only ones.
yes, we are the only.
The idea of a work session is to allow the board to get its work done without without the distraction of public comment. And so really the way you conduct your meetings, there's really no difference between a work session and a regular meeting, except that you tend to schedule hearings at what you call the regular meeting. But otherwise, they're the same. The same open meetings law applies, the same procedures apply. There's really no difference. It's just a matter of, how you've allocated the topics from between the two meetings.
All right, so I think we know how to proceed with this, just a couple little tweaks. All right, Christina, we need Coco for the next item on the list.
We get into the meat of the next
Uh-huh.
item. At the last meeting, it came up that we had this $100,000 put aside for the GIS, which I had forgotten about. So I went back and took a look at the budget. And it's in there. I don't know if it's a helpful exercise for the public to go through that, because there are other things in here, the clerk fees. I think that's about it, really. There's a minor office money, like $1,000 for office expenses. But should we go through this just for the public? I mean, why do we expect to spend $10,000 on clerk fees?
Because that's part of her salary, part of her duties.
Okay,
So
so it's not,
it was
it's not her salary, and then this on top.
No,
That's all.
it's all part of the package. Yeah.
So, I don't feel comfortable going into the comp plan here today, because the public really doesn't have anything to look at. The last thing they had to look at was what, from June of last year? July.
That's what
I
we're.
mean, they don't know the changes, they can't follow along, and I really think that's important.
But we have to make sure, like, well, first of all, I want Coco to come because I'm not sure which, like, of the multiple drafts we've got is the most recent. So,
Where's,
I don't even know which-
excuse me, where's BFJ in this process? How come they're not a part of this?
because we are pulling together all of the changes that we as a town board want to make, and then we're going to give them to BFJ to then update. And then that's what will get put out there. But right now, all we're doing is taking our own edits and making sure that when Lena and Coco went through them, that they actually got them, like they understood and put them into InDesign correctly. And we know that that did not happen. Like chapter 1, like wording's not in the right place, pages aren't in the right order. So to put out a draft to the public to go through, like, it would be confusing. Like, we're confused because we've got multiple stuff going on. So,
And July is the last public document, but
Correct.
we worked on this through November,
yes,
sitting on here,
yes,
multiple sessions.
yes,
Yeah.
We just said, let's go through November.
right, yes.
It's actually December.
December.
Mhm.
So what I'd like to give you today, if I could take a minute.
Yeah, because we wanted to start from, like, we've got multiple things in front of us and we're
Well,
not, I don't think we're starting in the right place.
before we move on that, and
Mhm.
maybe we're putting cart before the horse, or I am. But after we do this and we send it back to BFJ,
Mhm.
my understanding is that they're paid now. So we have to bring them back in for more money?
That is an executive session item, because it's a contract.
Okay. Seems like it's,
There needs to be some negotiation, we'll put it
Yes.
that way.
okay.
I don't even think it's negotiation. But,
They have been paid in full?
I'm not sure, because I think most of those payments got done, I
I mean, the financial aspect of the
I don't
contract
think
was
that they were paid
paid?
in full. I don't,
They have been paid in full,
Okay.
yes. But Amber brought up a very good point, which is that the $5,000 that they said that would complete the final edit.
we should be talking about this in public session.
Oh, I'm sorry.
This is an executive session.
Okay. So can I just tell you what I'm doing?
Yes, go ahead. What do you
Okay.
do? Okay.
So everyone has a copy of the latest copy that we've done in design. That's what they're going to be publishing it from. You have your name on it with today's date and what it's from. So everyone has a copy of the same one. Any copy you have received before that, I emailed you on December 10th, which was right before our last meeting. And I gave you a copy of all the track changes at that time, of every item that was complete and incomplete. And what I'd like to do is just give you another copy now, in case you don't have that.
Thank you.
I think,
Great.
didn't I respond and answer those questions?
You responded that you needed a hard copy, and I printed you a hard copy. And that's as far as we got with that.
Okay,
Okay.
thank you.
So this, in reality, this is the master list that you want to start from, and it goes through. So as it states through the 7 months we did the comp plan, we just did it chapter by chapter.
Yep. So we need to take this, Coco, and marry it up with this thing you just gave us?
Right, so you can see,
And take our changes and then now double check it against this, which,
Yeah, these are my changes from last year.
right,
right, we all have our master copy, I mean, not Gordon, of course, but we all have our master copy that, as we went along, I saw everyone writing their notes in and their Post-it notes. So anyone can use my copy if there's any question of, oh, wait, Coco, we didn't tell you to move that. As what we've discussed with Noah, so the InDesign, we don't have the fonts in the InDesign copy that we have, our license. So some of the pages might be off, but it's either before or after. And some of the graphics we didn't fix because we have to get better quality, which is the items that we need to finish are on the list that I just gave you on the front page. Okay?
thank you, Coco.
Can I just ask a question? We have Steve, our attorney here. Do we want him to sit through this whole conversation with the comp plan? Or do we want to go through some other things here? And, things that we have going on in executive session and come out of executive session back to this? I'm just asking the question.
Yeah, then we'd have to notify the public to bring them back in for the comp plan discussion.
Give it time to come back.
Yeah, I was gonna say we could do that,
I'm
just,
back at 3.
Well, I was just, yeah, can we just tell Steve to come back when we're ready?
Yeah.
He'll go and then Steve,
Yeah, I was gonna suggest that instead.
yeah.
Okay, 3 o'clock, is that when you'd like me back?
So,
Um, I know, I'm just like looking at like, I'm looking,
oh, put in an hour today, or put in an hour next week, I mean, it's
Mhm.
not all happening today.
yeah.
Yeah, I can
Give it to 3 o'clock.
Okay, 3 o'clock.
Okay,
Okay.
I'll be back then. See you all.
Okay.
So originally, if you have, and Megan, Amber, we were discussing this, and Ben, you can confirm, the copy that we've been using for the last year, for those 8 months, is filed July 2024. That was the last master copy before the copy I just gave you. So this was taken and put into InDesign.
Yeah, that's,
Somehow
I
ended up with
know.
an extra in between middle child.
I missed that, Coco. Where are we?
So,
We had the original copy that we were working with last year.
Right.
right, does your first page, Albert, say July 24 at the bottom?
Yeah.
Right, so that was the one that we worked
Why?
for those.
Yeah,
You probably just have the newer version.
Yeah, I got
You
December.
weren't part of the original, like, you came in
there's
late.
an original July 24, and then there's one she just gave us. And then this is the one from December 10th as well, which has,
Has some of the InDesign changes, right?
Yeah.
Because I have that version too. So I'm working off all three versions. The one you just handed me, the one from December, and then the July version.
Yeah.
The July version is the one that's on the website, right, that the public is looking at. So that's the
Yeah.
primary document we've been working off of, is the July version that the public has as well.
but there's no changes in there.
Not posted on the website,
No,
no, because we're not,
We're not done making those changes, so,
so they aren't confirmed.
all right, even doing a quick glance at what you just gave us, Coco, I see things that didn't get fixed.
In your InDesign or in your old copy?
In the one that you just gave me,
Okay,
the one that's now dated December 2024. Like, I just glanced at chapter 1 just to see, like, okay, although,
it might be not on the same page as it states somewhere.
no, it was the cover sheet. All right, I'm just,
Should we take these home?
that's why I wasn't sure I wanted to let Steve go, because now I've got 3 copies to,
Each of us take ownership of these plans and then come back to the table? It might be more productive.
Divided up, I think.
right, yeah,
Yeah.
because I might catch something that, like, if you go to chapter 1, introduction and vision,
Right.
I showed that we wanted to make the change to be, hold on a second, vision and introduction. And
And
I
that's-
have to look to see if the pages got swapped out correctly.
Coco, I feel like there's 2 different versions of the InDesign saved, because the InDesign version I have from
You got, this is
December
vision.
has the vision part correct. Right, that's why
Yeah.
I,
Yeah,
Thank
and you got the vision section there,
correct.
which
I
is,
think
what I said brings page 9 forward.
Right, and it's been
Look
done
at that.
here. This is the one I had
This is the one
that
that
Coco printed
Coco
when
gave
Leo was
to us
here.
on December 10th.
See,
Mm-hmm,
he's got that.
okay.
I feel like there's 2
Yeah,
saved
vision
versions
and
of the
introduction.
InDesign somewhere, because
Is this the cover page or?
that's the one that was
This is changed.
corrected.
That's
But
what I
mine
want it
has-
to look like.
Right, you have the red line version. Mine doesn't even have the red line. The red line's been cleaned on this one. So that's why we're gonna take this document that Coco just handed us, because this is the one that she has, that she's
Okay.
working off of.
I'm not paying for all these copies out of my budget, just so.
And so the version Coco just handed us, we all have the same binder, right? So we will make all the changes in this version and give them to you.
Let me just
That
go
way you're all
look
on
at
the same
InDesign because now I'm a little nervous.
So here, let me
Do
give
you
you,
want this back?
this, no, yeah, these two pages, this is the new
Yeah.
one.
Yeah, this is the one
All
you
right.
just gave us, which is wrong.
This is what you
This
gave
is
us.
wrong. This is the new one that you just gave me.
But this is the one
This is the
that somebody
version
made
that I
right.
had before
We're
January.
not still on with the public, are we?
We are.
We are.
Okay.
It's not your fault.
Oh, no.
No,
It's not your
because
fault.
I don't know
I'm
if
not throwing
maybe
you under
this
the
is the
bus.
version Lena had on her.
Okay, I'll be right back.
But
Coach,
The
do you
one
want to
with-
take this is the whole December 10th version, which is
No.
corrected and redlined?
she'll know if that page
All
is
right,
different.
cool.
Yes,
I'll keep it.
Yes.
yeah.
But I think once we determine which is the right one, I do like your idea, like we may need to, like I got this one, I have this copy, which is all the notes I took when we went chapter by chapter.
Yeah.
And then this was the one that Lena and Coco edited based
Mhm.
upon these discussions.
Right.
But there was homework that we had to finish up, as well as things that they didn't understand when we were talking about it, like the vision and introduction, like this from page 9 has to get moved up into this. And so that was me
We
going,
didn't really take those notes. They took those notes.
yeah, so they did it.
Yeah,
from
but
their
I have
notes.
those notes in mine
So
too.
yeah,
Any
so-
notes we gave them, I also wrote.
Yeah, so then I took my notes from chapter by chapter and put them in the, okay, here's the draft that they did the first pass of cleanup at. And now, so I don't if this is what she's working off of, then all of these need to get into this one.
Right.
So,
I'd like to take ownership of this before we start to go through it.
yeah, I'm
really.
starting to
I-
think, yeah, I
I
started,
mean,
if this is our cleanest, latest copy.
I literally have over 200 posted notes.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah,
yeah. Oh, yeah. Yes, yeah, I stopped
For the
putting,
paper
I stopped putting paper clips in.
Yeah.
Now, I also have, ooh, it's raining.
Again?
Yes, cards.
Someone call Ken Lewis.
So I do have updates on some of this information that was on my to-do list. Like, I have the updated PD data for bicycle accidents, for tickets, like parking tickets issued. I have the updated DWI, marine incidents, motor vehicle accidents through 2023. So I do have all that information. I sent that to Coco like last year when I updated it. So I can update those charts. And then I also have the town organizational chart that I did. I updated the town org chart.
Well, I remember that.
So I have that as well.
It's important.
This might have to be like a 2-page, like in the middle of the,
It's all bad.
like a fold out, because it's a little complicated. And I did make it colorful.
Well, let's just get Doge in here, you know.
So, I emailed it out, but I'll email it out to everyone again so people can look at it, and see if they have any recommendations, but it pretty much covers everything. I think I got everything.
I don't have any notes of open items that I was supposed to complete.
Yeah, that's what she just handed us.
Yeah,
And
other
so
than that.
there's like, yeah, I got some.
Maybe we can go through the checklist.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
Make sure that
yeah.
we have what,
Yeah,
submitted.
I'll take this until 3 o'clock.
This is the old checklist, so I'm not even looking, putting that over there.
That's the,
There was a checklist before.
Yeah.
Other than the one she just gave us.
that's the.
There we go.
Over there.
Yeah.
Copy number 1.
So,
Education, I thought I had given that to her. Demographics.
maybe we can go through this checklist, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
But we'll wait for Coco to come back. Just this.
Now, part of the problem with all the graphics in this is that they have been shared and saved and emailed and shared and saved and emailed so many times that they've just degraded, but I have the originals of all of these
Okay.
on my computer, so I can just,
You can,
I'll resend them
okay.
in their original format.
Yeah.
That's not a problem.
So the basic plan is for us to go through all these changes and somehow get a red line. We'll discuss that, how we get that another time. And then we have 2 public hearings we're gonna do, or 3?
However many
We'll
we
see
need.
how, yeah,
Yeah.
see how it all shakes out.
But yeah, I mean, what we're trying to do is get what we intended to make changes of, make sure that they've actually been incorporated.
Actually, I don't think there's, I mean, we already all have our notes. Gordon, I don't know if you've made notes in your version.
I completely lost track of this because, quite honest, I mean, the only thing
Before you were elected.
I mean, I have some of these in my office, but December, I was here for one meeting in December, okay, but I don't know. I probably, I'm hesitant to respond because I think this is, I almost feel like this is a little bit of a distraction at this point, but I don't want to go down that road, okay? I want to just try to stay positive, okay?
Why do you think it's a distraction?
Well, because what we have here is, we still don't know, listening to this, we don't know which copies, which is where, okay? And there's a lot of open pieces here, okay? And, but I'm with you, okay? I'll follow along, okay? But,
Well, I mean, part of putting it off for a couple of months is to give you a chance to read through the latest document, which I
I
thought.
mean, a chance, actually, Amber,
I mean, we had so many
I don't know whether this is, when we stated our priorities back in the January, I was clear what my priorities were, okay? And I know this comprehensive plan is there. When I look, okay, at, I've been following the South a little bit with their comprehensive plan in there and what they've done, and they've followed where they're doing their zoning and whatever. And it's like we got 5 board members sitting here trying to develop a comprehensive plan, but we don't, I mean, when I look at how other comprehensive plans are done, there's planners involved, there's people involved, okay, whatever, but I think that you're down this road, and I'm not looking to get into an argument with anyone, I'm just saying to you, you're here, okay, and however you want to do it is fine, okay, I just, we don't even, what's been the problem with the comprehensive plan all along has been, the community has not been, there's been a lot of engagement with the community, whether they're right, wrong, or indifferent. I mean, if someone were watching this like now and they see us here with this thing, which one? This one, that one? What do we do? What are we dealing with? Okay, I'm just making a comment, okay? I think that, I think it would be best if we just, my feeling would be it's just to table it until you're really ready to sit down and really talk about it, but that's just my feeling. And I don't like the idea, okay, that we listen, I have no control over this, okay, but when I look at how some of these other things have been prepared, when I look at how we don't even have a consultant with us, okay, we don't even know what's going on with the consultant. It's a mess. That's how I'm relating to it, okay, and I guess how the frustration I have is I want to get the center septics done. That's really my priority, something that we can substantially accomplish and get it in place, okay? I know Joe Fenora is on maternity leave, okay? But I'm frustrated, okay, because we've been with this thing since February, and it really, I just want to get something done, okay?
So I've been working on this plan
I know you
for
have.
5 years, so I would like to get this done.
I know, but I didn't-
This was a priority when we discussed it in the beginning of the year. This is something that town has put significant funds towards. We have had consultants and experts. My simple question to you was, have you read this? Did you have any notes?
I have read it, yes.
Because that's all we're talking about, is if you have any notes, so that this can then wrap up and go back to public hearing.
I think it's very difficult, Meg, when you have these time lapses, because everybody's memory is good, but we have how many different copies do we have floating around here, okay? But listen, you do what you, I'm just saying to you that I think I don't think, and I also, even though, the public watches us, okay, they don't even have a guideline to work from.
They do, they have the same document that you have. This document right here, the one.
This 2024, the 2024.
2024. That's the document that we're all working on.
That's the one that's on the website.
Yes, that's the document.
But they don't have any of the changes, okay, that
No,
are here.
because we're not done with the changes.
Okay.
Well, we did spend 2 months discussing.
We did, and all those videos
It's
are
been 6
online.
months.
6
There's-
months.
I mean, with all due respect, like, it's not complicated, it's that there's only 2 copies. There's the one that is the master, which we've all kept separate notes in. I have mine, you have yours, and then it's the InDesign. If I printed the wrong one, I take full responsibility. I haven't been trained in InDesign, and I have been trying to update it, so that's my mistake. But there's not a zillion copies, there's 2 copies. So, and with the unfortunate gap of 5 months, as clearly you do have some regrouping, Noah was kind enough to help me, and maybe there was a mix-up in terms of which copy he sent me back as he logged into our account that we bought for our own license, so we could save money and do the edits ourselves. So with all due respect, it's not complicated, it's my mistake that maybe I didn't print the right one. But there's only 2 copies.
And Kirk, just to be clear, I mean, the confusion we're discussing right now is not on you. Not on you at all.
I like to take full responsibility.
Okay,
And the clerk.
then you have it.
So which copy of the 2 that Meg gave you is the correct one?
Well, again, the copy he sent me doesn't match Meg. So the thing is, we gave Meg her own licensing. So
I haven't printed anything from InDesign.
perfect. So really, I just need to double check with him and go over the changes. So if I didn't have any doubt that this was the correct one, but I want to double check because our version that we bought of the licensing to do the edits to save money is not his copy. That's why, in retrospect, moving forward, we need to involve him because, in saving money, we took a step backwards because they dissolved a lot of the same fonts and things, which is just specific outlines.
So I think it's in the going back and forth between Noah and Lena and you that it got miscommunicated which version.
Right, that I might have printed the wrong one.
Which is fine, but
Then you need to figure that out, get us whatever is the
Right.
copy that you're going to collect all of our edits from.
Well, the next time we meet, I don't know if you want to look at that today, but that list,
We're gonna go through that list now.
okay,
At
great.
least we know
The
what our
list is not wrong, I can guarantee you.
Yes, yes.
That's only 4 pages.
And then we can take whatever turns out to be the working December 2024 copy I will transcribe my notes onto that, or not transcribe, but check my notes against this copy to see what got corrected and what didn't.
Right, and as I said to Gordon earlier, so every meeting we have, I have at the top of the date, the day you made the change, the time, and what section.
Right.
So anyone can borrow this master if you have any questions.
please go back to the video to see any discussion.
Yes.
Correct. Okay, sorry about that.
No.
So,
No, don't be sorry.
of the 2 pages I handed you, which one did you have as your master?
The original, this
That
one.
one, okay.
Right.
All right, may I have my 2 pages back so I have complete?
So you have a complete copy?
So the
So I
one,
have a complete copy?
so the one that you had, chapter 1 says introduction and vision.
Right, so that's the,
Right, and you want the vision,
Yes.
yes.
okay.
Yes, because
And yours
that,
says this, right, that I printed for you on December 10th?
This is the,
I think what you just showed me.
this
had
is the version
introduction and
everybody
vision.
got,
Yes.
that you printed for
Today,
everybody.
So
yes.
Yes.
It had We should add whatever this one doesn't.
But like the names are correct, like a lot of stuff.
Yes, right, that vision and introduction to me is the right
Yeah,
starting point.
Right, that was the
Yeah,
December
because that
10th.
had some of the big pagination changes.
Right, and all the names
Going
and,
on.
okay.
Okay, cool. So, I mean, I would like to pick this back up and start moving forward. So, yeah, we have some bumps here in getting ourselves refocused and back on the right page, but I would like to continue going forward with this. And Gordon, you've expressed that you'd like to set this aside.
Well, no, listen, you're here now, you've gotten to this point. I guess I'm just a little frustrated because I'm a little bent on getting some things accomplished, and I'm really looking, since I think we agreed as a board that the center with the wastewater was going to be sort of agreed we need to move forward with that, correct? And it's unfortunate, okay,
We
I
are
don't
moving
think that
forward.
this prevents us from doing that. I think working on the comp plan helps us do everything.
so let's get it on the agenda.
Yeah, I mean, in my mind, when we started to put other things on the agenda, such as historic preservation, like, that was something that was not on our original list.
Right.
So, like, that's why, when I have rejected to say, hey, that's taking us, the focus off of other things. So I agree with you in trying to stay focused on a few items. But
I think this should be one of the items. There's been
It has to
significant
be.
public input. We've put a lot of time and money into it. And it would be wrong of us to just not follow through.
You have to recuse yourself.
No, absolutely not.
and
I am
we-
not getting paid to do this.
And we are not Southhold. We don't have Southhold's budget. We don't have planning departments.
And it took them a
We-
decade,
It did take them
even
10
with
years.
their planning departments.
It's
So
2 decades. When's the last?
30 years.
83, yeah.
30 years ago was the last plan.
84.
It's very outdated.
Should I recuse myself?
No, no recusals necessary.
Doesn't the kitty cook? So,
Okay,
way forward is we're
okay,
gonna go
so-
through this
yes.
quickly now, then get set up for,
Yes, for next week.
Comparing
Next week we
various
can
drafts.
start, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, so.
and then we're
Coco
gonna
Bible-
also add the whole center IA system thing, the
That-
agenda.
Yes, but
that's
Joe
different.
is on paternity leave, so we have to let him come back. And so June is when he's coming back to us. He
Okay,
comes back, his first day back, he's part-time, will be May 20th. So he's not going to be on the May 20th agenda. We don't have a meeting. Oh, it's not even May 20th. It's May 22nd. Yeah, May 22nd. No, May 22nd is the first board meeting that he'd be back, but I didn't want to, like, he's going to have some catching up to do. So the next week is Memorial Day, so no meeting that week. The following week is when he's back on the agenda, is June 3rd. And he knows that, and
okay.
so these things, I think also one of, like, we have some things that have edited and completed and discussed. So as we go through those, you should just, when proofing the draft that Coco gives us, just to make sure that those are all to our likings. Because I see, like, on chapter 2, responsible BD and AD to discuss and rewrite the last sentence, so it was completed. Oh, I guess it was discussed, so we're good there. But on stuff that says completed, if we haven't discussed it, you'd want to just make sure that we're happy with the completed piece.
So one of the things I think we need to do is pick a, like, a stop date for our data. Because
Yes.
we've been at this for so long, everyone was like, oh, we need to update the data, include 22 and 23, or
Mhm.
include
Yes,
22 and
I had a lot
24.
of that.
So
yeah.
we need to just stop that. Like
Yeah.
24 is the last year we're gonna add, because otherwise you're rewriting the entire document. So census was 2020, so that date is not gonna change.
Mhm.
But, you know, for some of the, like the PD stuff, I was able to get updated numbers, but I think 24 needs to be the cutoff.
Okay. You fine with that?
What date?
Just 2024, January, like,
Yeah, 2024 is last year for data collection, so anything that any data from 25 is not gonna get incorporated.
right, so I'm not gonna like update the police information with 2025 numbers. We'll just stop at 2024.
Let's think here about adding it into, I did this, but I'll see if I can find it.
Which
It's
chapter?
on the second page, number 3 down from the top.
Oh, chapter 5, page 72.
Yeah,
Okay, yeah, so
I
it may
definitely
just,
did that.
maybe it just needs to be bumped.
So.
I just need to find it, and I'll send it around.
Oh, 72.
So there were some things, Ben, that I noticed were in this version that weren't in the version Coco just gave us, so the edit might be in here. Because there were some things that were incorporated. And so,
Find out when we get from Coco the version, so just,
yeah,
All right, we just need to go through it.
yeah.
And
yeah.
when we complete things that are listed as incomplete, what should we do with them?
Give them to Coco.
Yeah, email it to Coco
Yeah,
and
because
then,
she's updating, yeah, because now I'm gonna go back through, because it's like, oh no, I'm positive I, changed the definition for that image and, wrote a small paragraph on Sharrow's. Yeah. So we'll bump. Yes, I think basically, I don't even know if we have to go through all of this now. It's like we all have initials. Although, actually, anything that's town board, we should assign. That's incomplete. Yeah, let's do that. What's happened to later chapters?
chapter 10, right column, paragraph 4 on hold.
We've already gone through this entire document.
Yes,
Once.
yes, so,
I do
yeah,
know
it's
that.
just
We're sort of going back for.
Yeah, I mean,
if you don't-
to get on a roll, it really shouldn't take us much
No.
longer. Well,
We didn't go through chapter 11, it's the only chapter.
That's the only
yeah.
chapter.
but we wanted to complete chapters 1 through 10.
Through 10, correct, okay.
Once those get hardened in, then
Right.
the references are really what we're putting in for chapter 11.
Right, I just
So
wanted
just
to
has to cross-reference without having to redo cross-references.
Right. Paragraph.
Or, So Coco, we're looking at your chapter, it's the last page, because you may be able to help us. It was chapter 10, page 171,
Which copy are we in?
the July 2024. So go back to the one that you took notes on as we were doing the chapter.
What page you on?
171.
Like column paragraph. No, that's a formatting change.
Oh, green energy and initiatives. Maybe we were gonna do something once we get further into the ETIP grant.
But my 171 is different than your 171.
Right, that column was on hold.
Am I in the right place?
Green energy.
Initiatives, okay. So you need to go back to the July 2024.
It's 171.
169, sorry. So it was all-
Which draft?
Okay.
Yeah, it might actually be, oh, you know what, I flipped too far, I'm in my way over draft, hold on.
Yeah, so
I went way too far.
this is on hold according to COPA. So and I think now that I'm looking at it, it was because we wanted to get anything from the E-tip to incorporate.
Oh, right, there we go, I was in my old version.
That's over there.
You think I'm joking, but I have 3 versions in
You're
one
making it
printer.
worse by the minute.
No, it's me, I have 5 years worth of versions of this.
All right, so I would like to find
That's
that
me,
here.
not you.
I'd like to put ML and BD on this.
Okay.
Because you guys are the green options. Liaisons.
Okay,
So what are we doing? Just rewriting it?
Well, just rereading it and incorporating anything that you've got garnered from
yeah,
the E-tip grant so far.
okay.
So that's the only one that was incomplete from the town
For
board.
TV, yeah. Yeah, I think we did the rest of them. Oh, yeah, because if you go to the beginning, town board where it says SWOT, the strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, threats, I did answer that. So you should have that information. It was,
Yeah, that's done.
yeah, page 12,
Oh,
in the very beginning.
okay, yes.
That was done,
Oh, right.
yeah. And all the pictures, we'll do those after we have the text done. And we can have the text will all lay out, then we can pictures.
Oh, yeah. Oh, and then the next one on page 15, we just need to know which version we're looking at. Because the vision section is getting moved.
Right.
We just need to see what that looks like. So that would be one copy that we.
Yeah. Yes, I made that switch, then I just had this random.
Oh, random page with pictures.
Random type of pictures, and then it went into guiding principles. Really, it should be guiding principles on this page.
Yeah.
Just get rid of the images, and then we can just get rid of it.
Yeah, so Coco, page 15, TV.
But I think that it's,
I thought you wanted to put guiding principles as part of the,
yeah, so the way it started was,
Yeah, we had
back to back.
we had the vision first.
right, then the
And then the
introduction, and then the guiding principles. Yeah, so it's just these
There's a page.
random 6 pictures, but see, those are different here. So here it's
But that's your
intro,
whole-
vision, yeah.
Yeah.
So.
Just make me know. Remove pictures.
Yeah, so
Do you have,
the original on page 14 was to be moved up.
Yeah.
Yes.
yeah, right, so just show Coco.
I have.
Oh, you have the,
It's essentially just deleting those 6 pictures. Getting rid of that.
Oh, you don't want, I have removed pictures. You
Because
said-
if we take the guiding principles and put them on this page, then it'll go right into the
Okay.
text, and we just don't need those 6. We can put them somewhere else in the plan,
Okay, so delete from
because they're
this.
sort of random there.
Okay, I had moved, so then we'll just.
We'll move them from this section, and we'll put them in other places of the plan.
Okay.
all right, so a question I have for all of you is once we determine which of the 2 December ones we're working off of, even though we haven't had a chance to proof these, all of our edits and even finish submitting the edits, do we want to put what we're working on out there?
I think it's gonna get confusing.
I mean, that's my concern is that like, that'll be yet another draft that's out there that's not complete before we complete things.
I don't think we should. I think it'll be too confusing. Like, the master that we're working off of is the same July one that's online. This is like a work in progress, just to
It's
see
not final.
if what we're communicating to Coco is being understood. So
Mhm.
it's not a final draft. I think if we put it out there, it's gonna be more confusing.
Why can't you put it out with a date? And this way, every session that we deal with it, you just change, since it's an update, it's a change of a date. And this way, you always have a current one on the website, no?
Well, because what we discovered during the comp plan process, when we were trying to do that, was that you'd have people coming to the meeting with the wrong version, a version maybe 2 versions ago, 2 meetings ago or whatever, saying, well, I don't like this, you need to change that. We said, we did change that. And they said, no, in my version, it's not changed. We're like, yes, but on the current version online, it's changed. The version we're working on now, it's been changed. So I think it's less confusing for the public and less controversial if we get all of our changes done at once and put out a new version, and then they can look at them side by side and say, okay, I see what the changes are, as opposed to piecemealing it out bit by bit. That will then just confuse the public more, because now there's even more versions that they're looking at, more ideas and concepts that could have been misinterpreted or misunderstood. And we don't want to be publishing things that aren't accurate, because the more versions you have out there, the more confusing it is for people.
We ran into that with the doc code.
Yeah.
But also, Gordon, I think, and, you know, other than this little glitch today, we're almost done, like, we're almost done. Like, there's been so many changes, and like, I invite you to take my book to see it, that there's so many changes that we're almost done. So to give it to the public now and start talking about things when, until Noah gets us like the final draft, I think it would be premature and a little irresponsible, because if we don't have the right changes, that you signed off on all the changes, it will be very confusing. And we're like, before we meet next week, then you'll have all the correct information. Like,
Right.
I'll have spoken to Noah, and we'll have a timeline from Noah. So I think that would be really helpful to make a decision, that if you wanted my 2 cents, that's it.
Timeline from Noah when we'll get
Well, right,
an accurate revision of where we are thus far.
right. So, because I sent this to Noah, right? And he sent it back in a PDF. And so I could send it to you. So maybe that, I'm not sure where the glitch went, but that's where Amber will go over the estimate for him, because the contract explains how many steps we have left. And I think we should just take that and make it more of an outline, and that we could put online, you know, so the public feels involved.
It's like the outline of the remainder of the process.
The process, right?
What is the ultimate schedule? What are we talking about, the ultimate schedule? Once we finish the draft, then what? It goes to the public, that draft?
Yes. Yeah. and we sent
And
it
how long
out.
is the public gonna have with it?
Well, what we'll do is once we release it to the public, then we'll determine based on the schedule, do we want to give them 3 weeks? Do we want to give them 6 weeks to digest it before we have a public hearing? And I think that we should do what we did last time and have a separate public hearing, not necessarily like thrown in with everything else on a Monday night meeting. I think we pick, a different day,
Right.
and, one that's at night and one that's on the weekend or something like that.
If we can, the auditorium, or at
Yes,
least the
exactly.
community center, whatever we're.
Yes.
Now, who's going to be taking notes at those meetings? How does that work?
Well, they'll be recorded and our clerk will be.
So then it has to come back
Well,
to
we
the
can
board,
also
and we'll
take notes.
look at those comments, all the comments, and decide, do we still make revisions to the draft?
Yeah.
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
Just so I get an idea of how,
And hopefully, we've made a lot of changes. Hopefully, the public's going to, we're not going to make everybody happy.
Right.
But hopefully, we'll have incorporated enough of the really flash points that people will be like, oh, okay, we see what you've changed. Yes, we're happier with that. That's the hope.
And in conjunction, we have to file with the county. There's a couple of
Yeah,
steps that
it'll
we
go
have
to
to do
The plan.
that we'll spell out, so we don't miss any deadlines to get the final copy to the public.
It's in there too.
Yep.
So we have a plan today. Okay. I'm going to give you back this book so that you will give it back to us, so I don't have copy, the fifth copy.
We've been working on this one.
No, we don't know yet.
Oh.
Yeah, that's, well, yeah,
This one, should we keep that on? Should be up to speed.
yes, that you keep, yes.
Yes, you can see that one.
So Coco, the versions you gave us today, I'm going to hand back to you and then you'll give
Yes,
me
I
the
think,
magical
I think we
final
all
one.
give you back the books and then you tell us when the books can be picked up again. Not on top of that one, that's my.
Oh, that's,
Well, don't you need the notes that are in there, those 4 pages?
Somebody's on eBay.
Keep
You want the
Keep the notes.
December
No, I'm
24th?
gonna just take this one.
Yeah.
This
Yeah,
one,
so you want the,
yeah.
and if you want, we can sit down, Coco, and go over versions and figure out.
Yeah, let me do it, yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Do you want to take this version? So you can make it
Sure, I'll see if I have that one.
Because we're rubber banding together. Okay.
Hey, day.
That's fine.
You know what, I feel like we're like getting ourselves back on track, which is kind of like.
This was a test, really.
Did we pass?
Yes, you can.
Excellent.
Oh, very good.
You say I did.
So I'm going to email everybody the organizational chart for the town. Is that something that we need to formally adopt, our org chart,
Sounds like we would.
right? I mean, because
That's where we need Steve back.
yeah, we had an old version in the original comp plan, but it listed people, like employees' names along with titles. So I cleaned it up so it's just titles and positions so that we can see how everything flows. And I think that's good. It'll,
This is the organizational chart.
yeah. So I think,
This was never included in anything else? Is this something new that you have?
yeah, I took the one that was in the original version of the
Okay.
comp plan and I updated it. So this is the new version. So it hasn't been included in anything yet.
During COVID, Mike Bebon also had created one.
That's the one that was in the
that
original,
was in
not the 94 version, but the original version that the 2020 that we started with. Mike Bebon had an org chart, but he had employees' names.
Oh, okay.
And so, and it was also missing some parts of the town. So that's where I created this new version.
it was pretty convoluted.
It was hard to follow. It was hard to follow.
Have you eased that,
No, I did not. I tried by like color coordinating different offices. So you can see, okay, this is, building department, code enforcement, PD, and then there's arrows showing that, PD and code enforcement work together. They work with the town attorney. So it kind of shows you who works with who too. So that's kind of helpful, I guess.
I'll email this to
Yes,
everybody. That's
right now.
we'll ask Steve. You need to
This
once
is,
they've done
what's
it.
called, what's that? 4-page document club.
Oh, the list of completed and incomplete final edits to comp plan.
Could you have a shorter one?
That's what Coco called it.
Okay.
How about completed and incomplete final edits?
Okay.
Yeah, even when I made this org chart, I sent it to Chief and I was like, double check this and tell me what you think. And he's like, you forgot EMS. And I was like, see, I knew I was gonna forget something because it's such a large organization.
Okay.
Okay, around the table.
Albert, would you like to do WMAC?
what's that?
Would you like to handle WMAC?
Where's that?
Oh, we're doing,
Around the table.
Board member.
Around the table, we're doing, yeah, sure.
Did WMAC meet last week?
Yes.
not last night,
Oh, last night, okay. Never mind.
fresh in the mind.
Hmm.
There was a lot
That's
there,
right.
so.
Okay.
Albert, go for it.
I have a couple things, and, well, let Albert, while Albert's reviewing what he wants to go over.
You can go ahead, Meg, you have something?
Yeah, I just have, there's a couple like emails we received that I think we should probably talk about a little bit. One was from Suffolk County, the aquaculture lease program in Peconic Bay and Gardner's Bay. There are two locations that are relevant to us. One of them is in Smith's Cove, and the other one is right off of Mishomic. I guess there's two, because there's one across from Mishomic. And people are applying for aquaculture leases in those areas. So the hearing is, or the meeting is May 14th. So it's just, if we want to comment on this at all, we should probably have it into them before the 14th. We want to supply some written comment on whether we're okay with having a leased property in Smith's Cove. In the summer, that gets pretty busy. A lot of anchorage happens in Smith's Cove.
Yeah,
I don't know if that's the best location for someone to have an aquaculture.
it's not.
It's really, yeah, so.
Yeah, the other one is at the mouth, right at the mouth of Nature's Harbor.
I mean, there is always along the shoreline
Mhm.
from, the harbor, from Mishamic's Harbor all the way up. There's buoys along, but at least to put them in the center of Smith Cove, that's kind of, I know Bo was handling this. He was gonna look into this further and address it.
Yeah, I wasn't sure.
You know, the
if
distance, how much
Mhm.
authority does the town have? What's town waters, what is state waters?
Mhm.
To look into it further and try to dig up some information, hopefully. Maybe we can have him come in and talk to the town board, Amber.
Okay, yeah.
What else? I mean, we should do that, but I
But
think
when
the
is
real
this?
issue is
Yeah.
this meeting's next week.
Yeah,
And do we want, should the town write a letter? Since we are an interested party, that we're not happy with this.
Yeah, yeah, you definitely should.
And how do we get that letter done? Should we ask Bo to write it? Should we?
yeah, because he
That's who it
probably.
should, that's who it should come from, because he's on the water every day, and it really, those are navigational problems.
Yeah,
No question about that.
yeah.
What I would suggest is have him write it, let it come from the town board.
Yes.
So he can put in everything that needs to be in it, but then it carries more gravitas
Mhm.
if we as the governing body are objecting.
Yeah,
But
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
it's all involved, that's a good idea.
We should definitely put a letter.
I mean, because it's technically it's in county waters, but it's so close to our waters, that's why they're asking us. And it does really impede our navigational areas and where a lot of the larger boats anchor over there to keep them out of some of our other areas, I think.
We have jurisdiction. I don't know if it's county or state, actually, but we have jurisdiction as the town that the waters are lapping up against our shores.
See, so Amber sent this to us, right?
Yes.
Okay. All right, we'll send it on to Bo and, all right. Sure he's.
And then just the other email I saw come through that I don't think that we've addressed is the one from Ken Lewis about the boat. The workboat, the designer came back and said he would honor the estimate that he originally gave us that he had materials. And so Ken was asking what our decision had been on the workboat, and I didn't feel comfortable responding because I couldn't remember. So I thought that was a board discussion we needed to have.
I felt like there was discussion about coupling it with a pump out boat and trying to get grant money or something?
That was
That's,
discussed, yeah.
But yeah, the grant, I think, would only have covered the pump out portion.
right.
So then the question was, do we move forward with the pump out boat? And is waterways money something we can use to pay for that? How would it impact the budget? Was kind of the discussion I remember having, but I don't remember where we landed on, do we move forward with it or not? I think part of the question that we had when we had the discussion was, we asked Ken if the boat builder was still going to honor the original price, because that was part of a determining factor as to what the expense would have been. So Ken's coming back to us saying, yes, the boat builder will honor the original price. So now it's, what do we think? And we may not have an answer today, but it's something that I just wanted to bring back up to the table to say we need to resolve this in some fashion.
I thought that we had agreed.
I think Bo was under the,
We had agreed that this, I didn't say anything about it, but since you're bringing it up, okay. I think that when we had that meeting, I thought there was an agreement of the board that the timing was appropriate and that they could get through this year and it would be revisited again next year. But I thought that we decided that it was not the right time to consider this, okay? And he was making, he could get through this year, needless to say, but
I mean, I think he's got largely the moorings in. He still has to put the swim floats in. I mean, I think Bo was under the impression that, again, like you said, this is not the year.
Okay.
I think we kind of conveyed that, just in terms of the reval and reassessments, it's, I don't think it's a year myself.
Just for the optics, because it wasn't going to impact the tax rate.
correct.
It's coming from a separate fund. Okay. That's optics.
But I thought it was good to bring it up because this had to deal with the budget, because when we got into the workboat, we saw where the funding shortage was, where the taxpayers were picking up extra money.
I don't think that's accurate.
That's not accurate. That's
Okay.
not good. No.
Okay.
I think
What was there not a shortage in that, weren't the taxpayers paying? Wasn't there a shortfall after you took we tripled the
Yes.
rates and everything else, there was a shortfall?
That's if you presume that everything that, like, all of the harbor masters should be paid 100% for mooring fees.
Well, that's how that sheet was reading.
Yes, but that's an assumption, like it's a shortfall if you presume that they should be paying all of that. And there are people in the public who, some would say, yeah, they should pay for it. Others say, no, harbor masters deal with more than just providing services to mooring owners. They provide services to the general public, and therefore the general fund tax-raised revenues should pay for some of that.
Well, how was it,
It's not
how was it paid? That's what I'm trying to find out. How was that, how was it paid out? How did we take care of that expense?
It's paid for out of the general fund, and before
Right.
we raised the mooring fees, more of it was paid by the general fund. So
Is it
it's not
salaries?
it's not necessarily a shortfall. That's a discussion that needs to be had at some point, and the WMAC has brought up periodically, is like we think that the mooring fees are paying for too much of things that the taxpayers should be paid for.
All I know is when we looked at that report, okay, that was handed out, it was a spreadsheet. It basically had the revenue. Again, what you're saying is maybe correct, but so who paid the shortfall, that 60,000?
The taxpayers.
Okay, that's what I'm trying to say.
salaries for the harbor masters. So the mooring fees shouldn't necessarily pay for the harbor master's salaries, because the harbor
100%,
masters do
yeah.
more than just, so
Yeah.
what you're calling a
Basi-
shortfall was not a
Okay.
shortfall, it's the salaries for the harbor masters that get paid out of a different account.
It's an allocation.
Right.
So it's something. that we
But the taxpayers, correct me, were the taxpayers paid, did the residents, or the shortfall, was it paid out of the general fund, the shortfall that was showing there, or no?
Yes.
Okay, so that's what
It's
I'm,
not a shortfall.
Right.
It's
let's use a different expression, okay? The taxpayers paid, the mooring fees didn't cover the expenses of,
100, yeah,
right,
the expense of the entire harbor master salary.
correct, so the tax.
Nor should it. Nor should it.
Well, should it, but that's how you had that's how you were, it was a combination of the mooring fees and the taxpayers paying that bill.
Yeah.
Okay.
You keep saying we need to make up that shortfall.
Well, we need to make up the
It's-
shortfall, we
it's
need to
not a short-
reallocate who's paying for all the expenses of the harbor master.
Right, I mean, like, it's not a shortfall, it's an allocation, and is it the correct allocation? Some would say we're taking too much money out of waterways money, and that we should be putting more of the harbor master salaries on the general public through taxes.
The harbor masters on the general public.
Yeah, I mean, we should look at it, but
Yeah.
it's not necessarily a shortfall, it's an allocation. It's arbitrary at the moment.
Okay.
Yeah, Ken, you have your hand up?
So I just need some direction as to what I'm going to respond to here, because there hasn't been a decision and there still isn't one as I'm listening to this. And I don't know if it needs to have a vote, but if we're going to do this, I need to be able to tell the builder that they can do this. If not, I have to tell them that we're wiping the project and then it'll go out to bid again next year. But I need to give him something because the guy is being very generous and holding on to it this long.
Well, it seems like the conclusion we came to is that we're gonna wipe the project and we'll rebid it next year. Is that the answer we're giving? That's kind of what I heard from,
That's how I feel. This is not
Okay.
the year.
yeah.
Yeah, well, I think we're all in agreement on that.
I'm not necessarily in
Yeah,
agreement.
no, I
It's-
think,
It's,
Oh, speak, sorry, good.
yeah, no, because it's coming from a different fund, like, isn't that what this money is for? But if the optics, you all recognize that it is a different fund and it will have no impact on the taxpayers, then it's just, it doesn't look good. And we can limp along another year.
Well, I don't know what you're really saying, you're,
No, I'm just saying, just the ration, like, I feel like there is money available and that's what this money should be used for, is this type of use.
Well, we're also going, look, yes, there is, this money has been put aside for something like this. There are also other uses it could be used for. We're going to very uncertain times in the world, and got to keep some powder dry.
Mhm.
I'm not sure it's a smart thing to be buying a $175,000 boat.
Yeah, that's fine. I mean, if that's the decision, I'm fine with it.
I'd like a $175,000 boat. I'm not buying one.
Mhm. Yeah, I'm just saying it wasn't a unanimous decision, but I'm fine with it. Like, I'm not gonna fight you on it.
right.
Okay. Well, we have to have a vote, I guess. Is that what is required here?
And not necessarily a vote, just with the direction to, is it something that we're going to put on the table that, we're going to authorize Ken to go out and accept the bid? Well,
I'm hearing no.
I'm hearing no.
I'm hearing
So we're not gonna put it forward for a resolution to get voted down.
Okay.
We can save ourselves a resolution to be read.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, that's fine.
Yeah.
Just Ken wanted an answer, so.
Ken,
You good?
your answer is no, I believe.
it's hard to get that no.
Oh, it's hard to get a response for 2 weeks, so I'll take it. So, all right, I'll let them know what's going on. No problem.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ken.
It didn't seem that hard to get a no.
Okay, so,
Yeah, it really didn't.
Other reports. All right, so,
We're dealing with some old things, okay, something that's old, that's been hanging around. It was, the Hilo Shores sent a letter to the board about the roads that were in their development. We should really bring this up at the next meeting and bring that to a conclusion of what we want to do with it.
Okay. I know Ken was doing some work on that because it is a roads issue.
Right.
And so there, Ken, I won't put you on the spot right now if you're still there listening.
Any
but we can-
updates?
I know that you had some things that you needed to look into before we would want to take a step to accept the roads. I think there's a piece
Yeah.
where they need to bring them up to a certain standard, and so that standard needs to be defined, if I'm remembering correctly. There's also.
Yeah, Joe and I were looking at that together. It's the roads need to be, there's some drainage that needs to be put in place for the roads. In other places that have done something similar to this, they ask that whatever the, in this case, this private group essentially, that they make the expenditures to bring the roads up to speed, and then we could then maintain the roads. I've spoken to the gentleman in the Hilo Association who approached me about some of the work to be done, and I told them that this is just that I, quite frankly, am swamped with our own town roads as far as trying to get drainage systems in the ground, trying to deal with paving. And I told them, maybe when the fall came around, we could try to get something in there. We also, they bought some material from us to do a little work on the side of the road themselves to try to prevent some of the washout. I think it was on Hillcrest is the large road. But they need some major work in there, and they could contract with us to do that work, or they could contract with an outside contractor to do that work and then try to present something to us. But I mean, honestly, I'm having a similar situation with Deering Harbor too, and trying to help them through, I'm trying to get a catch basin in place for them, where they contracted for us last year to try to do it. So I just don't see anything happening in Hilo for me. It's at least until the fall, if at best. And they understand that. They understand. I also explained that this is this is going to be, it's a different, financial year, that a lot of things are going to be coming up in the budget. And I don't know that the town is ready to assume another, whatever it is in there, 1.5 miles of road. So that's, that's kind of where we're at.
There's that much road, Hilo Shores, 1.5 miles.
Yeah. It's all swoopy and curvy and narrow.
So once they do these initial repairs to get them up to speed to turn it over to the town, then going forward in perpetuity, we're responsible for those roads. And isn't there a legal action that needs to be taken?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, no, yeah, so first step is determining what would be bringing it up to standard. Like what would be an acceptable standard for us to take them. So that's why it's with Ken, because he needs to define that. This table cannot define that.
Yeah.
And then once that's determined, then Hilo Shores is going to have to determine whether or not they can afford to do what needs to be done. Especially if they have to do some road widening. Like they may have some legal things that they need to do with the
Easements
Yeah.
and.
easements or taking of
Taking,
people's property. So
okay.
it's not an easy answer.
Got it.
The License Review Board, we met last week. We went through and just have some further edits to finish, and then we will give it to legal counsel and the building department to look at. And so hopefully, like, in a couple weeks, we're not meeting this week, but maybe we'll meet again next week just to review the changes, and then we'll get it to the town board. So we're making headway on that committee. South Ferry, we had their informational session last week. That was, a few questions, went smoothly. One of the questions that was asked recently from a couple of town employees who live off island and commute from the South Fork was, what was their increase going to be? And the response that I got back, because I said, what about, like North Ferry has something, let me just get the exact response that I got. was, Shelter Island, town, and, Shelter Island-based businesses and the town having off-island employees, was their commuter ticket going from $27 to $45 as non-residents, but because that they are, if they work for a registered Shelter Island business or town or school, off-island commuters qualify for the resident commuter ticket. So their rate goes from $27 to $30. So
Okay.
wanted to put that out there just because our employees were concerned, and I'm sure other employees of island businesses were concerned. The ethics board they met last week. They're continuing to go through their code changes. One of the things that and I had sent out an email, and I just want to close the loop in public for the public, is we have a public hearing set for May 19th, where we are going to change the requirement of having an employee, not one member does not have to be a town employee. To make the change the ethics board was floating last week would require us to have to pull that public hearing and then set a new public hearing. And I think that our intention when we discussed it was that we're going to go forward with looking for a non-town employee to sit on the ethics board. So I'd rather proceed with that track, see what the public has to say, and then see if the ethics committee, how we want to fill that. And then if they want to propose that change along with the rest of the code change that they're working on, we'll entertain it then. So I thought that was like the best track and the best way to get that seat filled more quickly. So that was.
Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, because their recommendation was essentially that we should open the language a little bit, but still allow for the possibility of a town employee to be on the ethics board. And so the resolution that we're putting out to the public is that we're not going to be having an employee on the ethics board. And that's also been, some of the advice we've received. And so I think they can.
That has been the advice
Yeah.
our lawyer has given us,
And I-
which is not to do that.
And Steve is back.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And I
he's
think-
back on, but
It makes sense for them to come to the public hearing
Yes.
for that and make their case, and then we can decide from there.
so I just wanted to close the loop that we're not going to change the language. We're going to proceed with the public hearing as
As we
drafted
have originally
as set.
agreed, which
Yes.
is to
Yeah.
change the language so that a town employee cannot sit on the ethics board, which is the advice of our attorney.
WQI also met. We did the one rebate that we discussed earlier.
Perez?
Yes.
Yes, and I'm trying to remember some of the other topics. I left those notes inside.
Did you guys talk about commercial stuff? I thought I saw something.
It was on the agenda, and I think it's a bigger discussion. So
Yeah.
it was,
I don't,
it was
I wasn't there, I
tabled.
didn't follow.
Yeah, it was tabled. Albert, did you have anything else from there?
I didn't.
And let's see. Anything else on that street? The Lions street cleanup was very well attended, and it was, fortunately, the weather was good that day, and we didn't have to pick up garbage in the rain. And sadly, I went past, my team did from the firehouse to the IGA, Manwaring Road and back, and then back up to the firehouse. And then today I noticed there was garbage on the ground. I was like, all over good work. I mean, who threw that cardboard
Wasn't
there?
me.
Who threw those 2 pieces of paper? But it worked, a very good community effort. It's the Lions Club sponsors it, the fire.
How was the barbecue afterwards?
Fire department, does the barbecue, and the turnout from the community was just amazing.
They collected over 1,200 pounds of garbage, just so you know.
Nice,
Wow, that's awesome.
nice, yeah. My arm felt it yesterday.
Was that just what Amber picked up? 1,200 pounds?
Some glass bottles that were like getting heavy. And I think the library had its official groundbreaking on Saturday, so I think the public was very pleased to see that, like, official forward progress.
Good.
And capital planning met this morning, and we're moving along on, the ferry ferry mitigation, hazard mitigation part. So Joe should have something for us in June to go over that report from the consultants. We haven't heard any, our grants consultant wasn't able to make the meeting, so we don't know, if we've heard anything on any of the open grants, but I feel like we haven't, because she would send us an email if we have gotten awarded something in between meetings. And we will be hearing from departments next month on their requests coming in. So far, we have seniors have a request and PD has a request. And then we also just discussed the equipment reserve fund, just trying to prioritize. So we will be, there's different equipment needs. And so Ken will come to a town board work session to present. And we have the schedule that shows, what we have in the equipment reserve fund, and, proposed how to utilize it for the equipment needs that highway has. But we'll go through that in detail. Just to refresh, just to put out there, is that any money that we use from the equipment reserve fund has to have a permissive referendum. So once we decide whether or not we want to go forward, then the clock starts ticking on that permissive referendum for the public to weigh in whether or not they want to vote on how those funds get used.
Okay.
So, sounds good. I think that's all that I had.
I have some updates from ETIP. They're wrapping up the presentation that we'll be giving to the town board probably in a couple months. We had a meeting on Friday with PSE&G to go over some of our information and data to make sure it was accurate. So they're going to come back with a few notes for us. Otherwise, that's moving smoothly and sort of getting towards the end, which is good. Health and Wellness is working on their needs assessment of the community. So they've started interviewing different members of the community. We're starting with kind of like key people who, like Nurse Mary and some of the Father Peter, some other very active members of the community, to get sort of some baseline ideas of what some of the community needs might be. And then they're going to break out and do focus groups with different demographics in the community. So right now they're learning the interview process and testing it on people that we kind of know and are comfortable with, which has been very interesting. It's been a very good process. And so eventually that will culminate in a survey that will go out to the public. And we have a couple ways of doing that in-house, like the same way we kind of did for the comp plan when I used the feedback method where people could write their comments in the website. We'll do something similar for the survey and to kind of get feedback from everybody. So that's where they're heading long-term, but right now they're in the beginning stages, figuring out how it works. But they're very motivated. It's a good group of people. And then we have the Wetlands Code Working Group meeting Wednesday, so tomorrow. So we're picking that back up, just catching up with that. And other than that, that's kind of all I have right now. Anyone else?
The WMAC, I mean, they had, it was a long meeting. They had 5 top applications. Some are going to be continued. I think a lot of the discussion would probably be better served at the public hearing for the application. So at that time,
Yes.
I mean, we'll get the report from the committee clerk and go from there.
Yeah, sounds good. Anything, Gordon?
You did a good job. You spoke about the grants committee and I think we talked about enough of that today, being open to the public. I think that's a good move, okay? And the only other thing we have going on is we have a meeting, Ben, with Robert Harper
Yes,
on a week from this Friday,
yes.
okay? That's basic,
Historic preservation.
yes, historic
Subcommittee.
right.
We will then close the work session and go into an executive session to discuss the employment history of an employee.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, everyone.